StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get to use those of personal initiative. That is, you go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is pick up the phone and start dialing. Before we get into this, I'll remind you of a couple of things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages that are guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point. All you got to do to get those each Monday and each day when I send those messages out is be part of my text community. It is free to join. My number is 305-384-6894. Once we start sending those messages again, everybody in the text community will be updated. You'll be notified, and you can choose how often you want to get those messages again. That is at my number, which is down below in the description. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do my coaching. You'll like to have me as a direct coach. You'll like to be able to share your challenges with me, get hand-on help with your implementation, be held accountable. Make sure that you have a clear system to operate your strategy consistently and the right mindset to understand how to implement and apply the things that you know and the things that you will learn from working with me directly. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description. That's where you can work with me directly. Again, you'll get to see a layout of what our program is about, some feedback and case studies from people who we have and are working with. And you can schedule a time to get on a call with us directly to talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what you feel like might be in your way. And if we feel like you're a good fit and we can help, we'll tell you exactly how it works from there. Again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Picking up on today's topic, which is pick up the phone and start dialing. Now, the title of this episode is an homage to the famous scene in a movie called The Wolf of Wall Street. If you are not familiar with that movie, you can go and watch it, I guess, if you want. If you haven't seen it by now, who knows? Maybe you never will. Or if you are familiar with the movie, then you may remember the scene. And if you haven't seen the movie, let me tell you one other option that you have. You just go on an app like YouTube, and you can probably pull this up somewhere. And in this scene, Jordan Belfort, who the movie is about, you may be familiar with Jordan. He is an actual real person. He's a sales guy who's still active in the game right now today. And he calls him, I think he called himself the Wolf of Wall Street, or he was called that back in his heyday. He was doing his thing. He was selling a whole lot of stocks. And Jordan in the movie is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who I think most of you are familiar with who he is. And in this famous scene, Jordan Belfort, aka Leo, is exhorting his sales team to solve all of their problems by doing one thing, which is exactly the title of today's episode. Get on the phone and start dialing. He's telling them to solve their problems by dialing prospects, selling the stocks that the company was selling, and you can solve every problem that you have, such as your money problems, your family problems, your spouse problems, your whatever other problems you got. Just pick up the phone and start dialing. It's actually a great scene. So if you haven't seen it, you should go look it up. So again, just see that scene if you don't watch the whole movie. This episode is all about making things happen and some ways of taking more initiative in your life and in your business so you can start moving towards the outcomes and results that you need and you want. Is anyone interested in that? Good. I thought you would be. Let's get into it. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is pick up the phone and start dialing. Number one, the quickest route between 2 points is a straight line. The quickest path between 2 points is a straight line. And it's ironic that I'm even saying this. I wasn't saying this on purpose in saying that, but Jordan Belfort, the actual person Jordan Belfort, his sales process, he literally called it the straight line method. And I couldn't explain it to you, but I know he did call it that because I've seen him speak in person and I've seen some of his material, and he literally teaches something called the straight line method, whatever it means. But I mean, it's the exact same way. The straight line is the quickest route between point A and point B. So what your job is to identify the quickest route between where you are and where you want to be. The straightest line between your desired outcomes and where you are today, focusing on how to best execute that route and then actually, doing it. That's your job. If you don't know what the quickest way is, if you don't know how to execute it, if you're not sure what the quickest route would be, or you're not sure even where you are or where you want to go, then you know what you need to do? Get help. You need to do that immediately. Pick up the phone, dial somebody who can help you and get the solution to that so you can stop having the same problem every day, every week, every month, every year for the rest of your life. You got to solve these problems, folks. That is your job, to solve problems. Many people are nervous, anxious, and fearful of taking the most direct route to getting anything that they want, even when they're aware of it. See, some people are unaware. You just have an ignorance problem. Ignorance simply means to not know something. You can solve an ignorance problem by getting informed and then doing something about the information that you have. But some people, you don't have an ignorance problem. You have a fear issue. You just have an implementation issue that, okay, I know what I need to do. I just don't want to do it for whatever reason. And the reason many people don't do it is because they are anxious and fearful of doing the thing that is the most direct way of getting what they want. People don't like being direct, which can be displayed in many different ways, and it costs you in many different ways as well. One way that not being direct costs you is the loss of confidence in yourself, because you know every time that you're bullshitting yourself. You know when you're supposed to be doing A and B, but instead you're messing around doing C, D, E, and F. You know that you should be doing these other things, but you're doing this thing, basically wasting time and giving yourself busy work instead of doing what you should be doing. You lose a little bit of confidence and trust in yourself because you know that you're doing the wrong thing. See, everybody else doesn't know, but you know. So you lose a little bit of confidence in yourself. That's the first way that it costs you to be indirect. Another way that it costs you is the lack of confidence that other people will have in you if and when they realize that you have taken the passive route instead of the direct route to an outcome, or you're taking the passive or indirect route to get into an outcome. When someone realizes that you're supposed to be doing A and B, but instead you're doing C, D, E, and F, and they notice it, they're like, all right, why are you doing that when you should be doing this? All right, they lose a little bit of confidence in you if they know that you should have been doing it. Now, if they're just telling you and you didn't know, that's a different thing. Now, let's say if I'm coaching you in Work on Your Game University, you're a coaching member of ours, and I tell you something that, hey, instead of doing what you're doing here, how about we do this over here? Because this will work better. And you realize that it'll work better, but you didn't know that before I shared it with you. Now, I'm not going to lose confidence in you because you didn't know what you didn't know. Again, I was just filling a knowledge gap for you, or an insight gap for you, or a process gap for you. But if you knew and you still weren't doing it, okay, then we just have an accountability issue that needs to be resolved. Doesn't mean I will lose confidence in you, but it means that you now noticing that, now you're going to see, are you responsible for this now? Are you responsible for this information because now you have it? To see, if you don't have something, you're not responsible for it. But when you know you're responsible, ignorance is to see, you can make a mistake of ignorance by not knowing something, but you make a mistake of stupidity when you know and you still make the mistake. Everybody understand? And understand that when people do notice this, they will notice even if they don't say anything, and they may lose some confidence or trust in you when they know that you are not doing what you know and they know you are supposed to be doing. And remember that the way you communicate matters more than what you communicate. In other words, how you do things matters more than, many times it matters more than what you do, especially when it comes to your words. Now, what you do matters a lot when it comes to your actions, but people are reading your nonverbals all the time, and people are sending out nonverbals all the time that we often don't pick up on because we're not paying as much attention to other people as they are paying to themselves, or as we are paying to ourselves and they're paying to themselves. Make sure we got that correct. And another thing that it costs you when you are not taking a direct route to something that you're aware of are all the opportunities you miss when you go indirectly and you fail to get the outcome because of the extra steps you took. In other words, you may take longer to get to an outcome simply because you took too long. And if you had gone a direct route, as maybe one of your competitors did, they took all the food off the table that should have been yours, because by the time you got there, because it took you 30 minutes, they got there in 10 minutes and they took everything that would have been yours. Had you taken a direct route, because you were closer, you could have got there in 5, you would have took it before they got it, but they took it before you got it because you went indirect. See, as I look back on my own life and my own business, every time that I miss an opportunity that I should have had is because I didn't take the direct route. There was a direct route, I just didn't take it. Either I didn't know, or for whatever reason, I was anxious, fearful, or nervous or hesitant about taking it, and I didn't do it, and therefore I lost an opportunity. Or I got an opportunity, maybe I still got the opportunity, but it wasn't as good as it would have been had I jumped on it immediately. That happens to us all the time. Anytime that I'm direct about doing something, I know exactly what happened, and most of the time, it is exactly what I wanted to happen. Most of the time when I'm direct about things, as long as I have the knowledge, I have the information, I have the skill set, and I have some semblance of competency in the thing that I'm doing, usually I get exactly what I want. And even the times when I'm direct and I don't get what I want, I don't have any regrets about the outcome, because I know I went directly into the situation exactly as I needed to, and I addressed everything and I left nothing on the table. So even when I'm direct in something and it maybe doesn't turn out exactly as I want, I don't feel bad about it, because I'm like, well, at least I addressed the situation. At least I wasn't a pussy about it and let the situation control me. Instead, I controlled the situation. I don't feel bad about that. Too many of you are leaving too many opportunities on the table these days by not being direct enough about what you want and going about it in an indirect way, hoping that you can still get to it, when it often ends up happens is you never get to it, or by the time you get to it, the opportunity is either gone or is not the same as it was, which usually means worse. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is pick up the phone and start dialing. Number 2, let's get specific here. Now let's get more granular. So what I told you in point number 1 was a big picture approach. When I say pick up the phone and start dialing, I was talking about it more metaphorically in point number 1, but here we're going to talk about it more literally. Point number 2, emails, direct messages, text messages. All right, I engage in all of these things. Actually, I spend a considerable amount of money every month on my ability to send these and the amount of them that I send. These are all passive methods of communication, all of them. An email is passive. A direct message is passive. A text message is passive. They're all passive methods of communication. Some more passive than others, but all, albeit, passive. Salespeople. If you're a salesperson, and a salesperson is just a person who's looking to influence or persuade another person to take an action, whether it involves money or not. If you're a salesperson, you cannot afford to be passive all the time. Maybe sometimes you can use passivity as a way of kind of playing it cool, but you can't be passive all the time when you're a salesperson. Sometimes you just need to get something done. You need it done today, now. You cannot afford to be passive. And those of you who are literally in sales, understand that sales is not just about you exchanging your products and services for money. That's the game, but it's bigger than that. It's also about you getting your way, persuading people, and having influence over yourself and others. Because one of the things you're going to get your way in is making money, persuading people to spend their money, and having influence over other people to get the thing that they know they want, and they just have to pay money in order to get it. This is all part of the sales process. And then you can use these skills in every other aspect of your life. You're good at selling, usually good at getting your way in other aspects of life that don't involve money. Is this true or not? And you know a person who's a really good salesperson? I'm talking about sales in terms of selling things for money. Are they also usually pretty good in getting what they want when they want it? Usually the answer is yes. Why? Because the sales abilities are universal. Again, because sales is about getting your way, influencing, and persuading, whether we're talking about money or not. And how many people listening to this want to get better at getting the things you want, influencing people, and persuading people, including yourself? Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that. Okay, so this is why sales skills are a future-proof, universal skill. That's why any of you who does not know how to sell, you should learn how to sell, because it will help you in every aspect of your life. The most direct way of getting anything, as we already talked about, is a straight line. So an email, a DM, and a text message are all passive ways of communicating when you could easily just have a direct personal conversation with a person, ideally face-to-face, and if not, on a call. If you have access to someone via call, it's better to call them than it is to email, text, or DM them. Wouldn't it be better to just directly call a person if you really need to talk to them? If you really have something that you want to say to that person, and you really want to find out how they're doing, and you really want to get in touch with them, wouldn't it be easier to just call them? Sometimes I'm text messaging with some people, and it's funny because different people have different ways of doing things, but I'll tell you something interesting. There are people who I know who I will text message with, or they'll start texting me or whatever, or we'll be emailing, and they will keep the email string or the text message string going, and they will gladly just exchange message after message after message because this is their way of communicating. There are other people I know, however, and I'm going to tell you something interesting about these other people, who, if I'm doing that with them, I'm sending them messages like emails, or we're DMing or texting or something like that, they will short circuit the message string, and they will either call me directly, they won't even say no, they'll just call me, or they will say, yo, let's just get on the phone, like, stop doing all this messaging. And you want to know something interesting about this? I know a lot of people who are good salespeople. I know some really good salespeople. And what's interesting is that latter group who I'm talking about, all the people I know who are good salespeople, that's what they do. They all would rather have a direct conversation with me than have a text message exchange with me or exchange emails with me. All the people I know who are good salespeople, they like getting on. They like to, let's just get to it. Let's just have a conversation. I don't care if we got to talk for 45 minutes, but let's have a conversation rather than let's doing all this texting and it's too passive. They rather get direct. They don't say that. They don't come out and say these things that I'm saying. I'm articulating this and explaining it. They don't say these things, but they do it. And I'm noticing it even as I'm talking about it. I'm thinking about the people I know who will do this. I'll be texting them. I'll text, they'll text, I'll text, and then they'll just call me. And they're like, I figured we could just talk instead of texting. They'll just say that, and then we'll just have a conversation. And everybody I know who does that, they're all very good salespeople, all of them. Now, you should think about what that means about you, what that means for you, rather. And think about the people in your life who might do that, if you have any people in your life who do it. If you don't, you should get some. The fastest way to communicate, again, is direct. These days, you can do it via a phone call. You can have a Zoom call. You can have a FaceTime call, or you can meet somebody in person. Just shake their hand and actually talk to them in their face. But you want to get as direct as possible when you need results. Right? Can we agree? Anytime you need a result, like you want a result like right now, you want to do something direct, right? You don't want to do something passive because you have no idea when it's going to happen if you're being passive. If you're being passive, then whoever or whatever you're working with may be passive in exchange. They may match your energy. But if you are more direct, guess what? People will match your energy there. So keep in mind the thing about energy, folks, is that whoever has the strongest energy in an exchange between humans, they usually control the circumstance. So if two people are walking together, you can notice this next time you're walking with another person. Let's just say they're an able-bodied, fully grown adult. I'm not saying do this with a 2-year-old kid who might not be able to keep up even if they try. But an able-bodied, fully grown adult. Next time you're walking with a person, slow down, deliberately slow down how fast you're walking. Deliberately slow down your pace, and notice that the other person will start walking at the pace that you're walking, and they won't even realize that you did it. Don't slow down like in a way that's so obvious that it seems like they're like, "What are you doing?" But slow down just a little bit gradually, and they will slow down to your pace. And then if you speed up, they will speed up to your pace. Now, they might eventually say something like, "Yo, you're walking too fast," or "Yo, can you walk a little bit faster?" They may say something, but you'll notice that they will match your pace. The whole point is, and there's a whole thing in sales called pacing and leading, that when you match another person's energy, then you can start to control the pace and the energy of the conversation or the energetic exchange. But whoever has a stronger energy in any situation controls the situation. So this is why energy matters so much. This is why I talk about energy so much. Energy is 85% of the job in life. And all of these pieces fit together. And I hope you're catching it. Whenever you want to get something now, you need results, answers, or you need to share something, you want to be direct, right? Okay. What you should notice is that what do most people these days do? They go the indirect route. Most people rather send you a DM than call you. They rather send you a text message than meet you in person. They rather send you an email than have a direct phone conversation. Like most people don't even use their phones to actually talk on the phone. They use their phone for social media, emailing, and texting. They don't actually have phone calls. Look at most people's call logs. They don't call nobody. They don't take calls and they don't make them. No calls. All right. Why? Most people are indirect. Now, why does this matter? Why do I care? Where's the opportunity, everybody? Episode 1025. The opportunity is always in the opposites. Since most people are migrating towards the indirect route of communication, your opportunity is in being direct. When nobody else wants to be, your opportunity is in being direct because it gives you an opportunity based on the law of contrast. You stand out by doing something different than what everybody else is doing. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is pick up the phone and start dialing. Number 3, your willingness to pick up the phone and talk directly with people will help your overall communication skills. Now, why is this? Dre, what's the difference? What's the difference between talking to somebody on the phone and talking to them in a text message? Or what's the difference between meeting somebody in person and talking to them in a DM or an email? What do you mean is going to improve my communication skills? I'll tell you what I mean. First of all, when you get direct with someone, you are forcing yourself to get better at communication because you don't have the time luxury that you have with a text message that you won't have on a phone call. See, when you're texting me, if I text you and you text me back, I could take 20 minutes to respond back to you, and I could think about what I'm going to say. Maybe I didn't see your message, but let's say I'm looking at my text and I see what you said, and I'm not sure what I want to say back. I might take 10 or 15 minutes to think about how to respond to you before I text you back. But see, if we're talking face to face and you say something to me, I'm not going to stand there for 20 minutes and think about what to say back. I got to say something back to you right there on the spot. So my communication skills have to get better because I got to learn how to think on my feet and respond right there in the moment. This will improve your communication skills. So see, if you're used to having face-to-face conversations, then a text message conversation is easy. But if you're only used to emailing and texting, and then you got to talk to somebody in person, or you got to public speak in front of an audience of people who are looking at you physically in the room, it's a lot harder to have that conversation if you're not used to having direct conversation. This is why your communication skills improve when you have the public speaking ability. That's another future-proof skill that is universally applicable in many aspects of life. And if you're good at that, it will help you be good at other things. So I'm just dropping in dripping in these future-proof skills that I'm noticing them just when I'm talking about them. I'm just mentioning them to you. So in-person conversation, people can read your energy. They can read your nonverbal responses as well as hear the words that you say. And again, you can do this as well with them. Unlike in an email exchange where you can't read somebody's energy, you can't read their nonverbals. All you can go off of is just the words that are on the page. And you have no way of knowing what energy they had when they wrote them, especially if someone's not that good at putting the right energies into their textually. Some people have that ability. I think I'm one of the people who has that ability. Not everybody does, though. People tend to take words that are written down in whatever energy that they're in, not the energy of the person who sent it, because you can't put that energy in words. And again, only some people have the ability to do that. See, what happens when you have direct communication, folks, is it forces you to think on your feet faster. You got to get better at communication, and you're putting those same responsibilities on the other person you're talking to. They got to do it too. Now, they may already have the skill or they may not. But the thing is, you'll both get better. And when you get good at this, the people you communicate with will respect you a lot more, and may not even realize why they respect you more, but they do, because you're doing something and forcing them to do something that most people simply don't do and don't want to do, and even will avoid at all costs. This is the opportunity. Remember, folks, the opportunity is always in the opposites. Let's recap today's class, which is pick up the phone and start dialing. Again, look at the scene from the movie Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio, and you can find, so you know what I'm talking about when I say this, pick up the phone and start dialing. This is really about being direct. Point number one, quickest route between 2 points is a straight line. So you need to know what the straight line is for you in anything that you want to achieve, and decide that you're going to take the straight line route. The people who I know who are best at making things happen are people who take straight lines to get to what they want. Number two, specifically, emails, DMs, and texts are passive methods of communication when you're able to have or willing to have direct personal conversations on a Zoom, a FaceTime, a phone call, or literally in person. You have to step up your communication skills, and people will respect you more, and you get to your outcomes faster. Whether that outcome is a yes or a no, at least you know very quickly, because there's no time to pass in between message exchanges. Number three, your willingness to pick up the phone and talk direct will help your overall communication skills, because you have to think on your feet. You got to respond right there in a moment, and so does the person that you're talking to. And when you can do that, then exchanging communication in a passive way is really easy when you're used to doing it in a direct and active way. But when you're only used to doing things passively and then you're forced to do things directly and actively, it's harder to do because that skill is not as easy to develop. This is the reason why you should develop public speaking skills, because again, you can't be passive when you're publicly speaking in front of an audience of people. If you can be good at that, then it's very easy to have any kind of exchange with any person in any form of communication. All that said, make sure you text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. Also, Work on Your Game University. You want to get better at getting directly to the outcomes that you want to get to, whether we're talking in communication, sales, or anywhere in between. You're a top level performer, top 1%, 2% of what you do. You're the people who we want to work with. And we will tell you exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it. We want to find out what you're doing, how you're doing it, what's working, what's not, what you think is in your way, where do you want to go. And once we're clear on that, we believe we can help you. We'll tell you exactly how and how it works. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all